hopefully you have a glass of wine, a beer next to you, so we can make it fun, not just useful, but also fun. And again, appreciate you spending your Wednesday afternoon with Sasha and I, Lift 99, the awesome team of Lift 99, and myself to learn more about the B2B sales side of the business and how you can scale your B2B sales process.
Yep. I think we can start actually, and I turned off the waiting room so people can enter directly. So, hey everyone, my name is Sasha and I'm marketing manager at Lift 99. So just like a few words. So Lift 99 is a startup hub in the heart of Kyiv, and we do have electricity, we do have amazing people, we do have internet. So if you need to work somewhere, come join us here. And yeah, I see some people already turned on their cameras. Thank you so much. And actually, I would like to ask everyone to turn on their cameras. It doesn't matter what you're doing. So if you're eating, fine. You're doing sports and listening to this, fine, we want to see you. You're playing with your dog and listening to this on the background, awesome. So we just want to see faces, not the screen, not the static pictures. So thank you. And also during the session, I would like you to use reactions, like, for example, this or this. You can find them at the bottom. Yeah, Zana also sent one. So just please feel free to use reactions, feel free to use the chat and drop your questions to the chat. Or if you want your question to be answered, not in a Q&A session, but like you have urgent question right now, you can raise your hands. You can also do it in reaction section. Yep, you can do this. Yeah, thank you, Zana. So you can raise your hand or lower your hands, and then you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Elitsa just told me, thank you. Thank you for your actions. Elitsa just told me that it's okay for her if you ask questions during the session, not only in Q&A. So feel free. We want to make this interactive as much as we can. And yeah, so today with us on the coaching session, we have Elitsa Zaimova. She's a head of B2B sales at Preply Business. Yeah, she's spotlighted for everyone. Yeah, so I'm passing the microphone to you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully you are able to see that. Let me know you can see it. And again, thank you very much for 30 amazing people that want to spend Wednesday afternoon, evening with us, learning more about high-level B2B sales roadmap for startups. Today, we're going to talk a lot about sales, a lot about fun stuff. And as Sasha mentioned, we want this session to be more interactive and useful to you, right? So don't be afraid to raise your hand or to post your question in the chat box. And Alexandra Zena will support me here to answer your questions. But just to set kind of the tone of today's meeting, more casual. The end goal is to be useful to you, right? So request your questions as soon as you want. Perfect. Let's move on because we have a lot to cover. So how do you want to spend the next hour plus together? I have suggested 4 kind of topics to discuss today. The very first one will be more casual. Let's get to know each other. Who is Elitsa? Who am I? Why am I talking to you about sales roadmap, sales processes? I just want to share a bit more about me and my experience in a couple of slides. From there, I do want to know about you. So we have prepared some questions to get to know you. So if needed, we can tailor this presentation, this discussion a bit more to be useful to you. From there, the second and the third points are kind of the meat of our discussion today, right? The reason why we're here. We're going to take a snapshot of what is a sales process. And how do I hire the right team? So we're going to look at the do's and the don'ts. I'll share my experience. And then we're going to take a high-level snapshot of the sales process, how to build a preliminary ideal customer persona, or as we call it, ICP. What should a skeleton of a sales process look like? We'll look at examples as well, so we'll make it practical. And then a question that I get a lot, and I want to discuss it here, is when and how to hire the right team. Lastly, we'll cover in a very quick slide the sales tech stack, because this is something that I have been asked many, many times, and I thought could be useful for you to share what I have been using for the last 10 years. And the third point will be, once we've developed this fantastic sales process, we have hired a few people, what should our sales approach be like? What is solution selling? How should I implement it in my organization? What are the do's and the don'ts of building my sales approach? And the fourth point is, we're going to do a quick summary. What should be the takeaways from this meeting for each one of you? So this is actually our roadmap for today and what we want to cover. My takeaway that I want to, all of us to have together is to make this useful for you, to have one thing that you take and you implement at your organization, or at the very least is to start getting inspired on how to build your sales organization within your company. And to start with the very first poll and slide here, so and a question here, so Alexandra, help me out. I would like to get to know what you want to take out from this session. What made you join and spend an hour with us? So we have actually included a couple of answers here. Please feel free to fill it out. We'll give you a minute to take time and fill it out, and we'll read it out loud to see, to make sure we tailor this presentation to be a good fit for you. Well, I'm glad to see that people already know what they're here for. No one is unsure, so that's already a good sign. It means we have the right audience here with us today. I still see answers coming in. We have about 30 answers out of 43. And what it seems like is you are curious to hear about sales process and strategy. Fantastic. We love curious people. Second, I guess they're more or less tie-in high-level roadmap for sales process. You're curious to know more. You want to understand more about the high-level roadmap for your sales process. And it's fantastic to see that 8 people actually already have a sales process developed internally. So you want to compare what you have. For these 8 or 9 already people, you probably can help me do this together. If you want to share best practices on your side, join me in. Right, this is a team effort here. So I will rely on those 9 people to help me out and do this together. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Moving on. Perfect. Let's start with the first point. Let's get to know each other. A bit about me and why I'm doing this together on a Wednesday evening. What inspired me to do this session. As a high level, as Sasha mentioned, I am the head of B2B sales at Preply Business. Preply is a Ukrainian startup. We do one-to-one language learning. We match students and tutors to make sure that we inspire students to learn any language in the world, and mainly English. I actually started the B2B division of Preply from scratch in 2019. And as you can imagine, was responsible for building the whole thing from the ground up besides the product. We already had a B2C product, so we had to just adjust the product. But I had to build a go-to-market strategy. I had to build a sales team, the account management processes, hire obviously from, I was the very first employee of Preply Business, build a team, and think about what the product offering on the B2B side should be. Right now, about 3 years later, we partner with over 200 global organizations. Think about companies such as Mercedes Benz, BNP Paribas, UNIQA, Uber in Latin America, McKinsey, MIRO, Pic Collage, Delivery Hero. And we have a team of over about 100 employees right now fully focused on enterprise. We are growing about 5 to 7x year over year. So really exciting times. And I do believe that while building this process from scratch, I've learned a few things, and hopefully today I can share that experience with you. To take even a step back, why sales? My career started in sales 11 years ago. I'm quite old, so have quite a lot of experience there. I started actually working in sales at CEB, now Gartner, in Washington, D.C., US. And there I was responsible for advising or selling a challenger sales solution to salespeople. Not the easiest job. Selling a sales solution to salespeople was pretty tough, but definitely learned quite a lot about solution selling. How can we approach and be kind of a consultant to our customers rather than just another salesperson? And on top of that, I am very passionate about startups. I love the whole ecosystem, especially in Ukraine. It's really admiring what you guys do. I've lived in Ukraine for 7 years. I've actually spent some time in Lift 99. I love what they do. You guys are amazing. I've joined a lot of kind of startup, incubators and startup kind of meetings, and I'm really inspired by all of you. I've never seen people that are so start something from scratch and go full force with it. You're very entrepreneurial, and really you inspire me to be better as well, to not be afraid to find a challenge and go full force there. So thank you for that. And that's why I wanted to do this session with you, to hopefully inspire you to make your sales process a bit better, to take the extra mile, to formalize your sales process and hopefully grow your organization. I also mentor a lot of startups, Ukrainian startups, to help them build their sales process from scratch. I work with a lot of founders or VP of sales, depending on the size of the company, to really help them build a skeleton of a sales organization, to hire the first couple of employees, which are very, very crucial kind of milestones for each startup. So this is more about me and why I'm here. And to switch to the next slide, I want to know about you. So now that you're so familiar with our awesome polls, we have prepared a couple of questions to get to know you. You can see those questions here, and you can see them in the poll. I'll give you a couple of minutes, but would love to understand what is your role within the organization? Do you work at a B2B or a B2C organization? Do you have a well-defined sales process? And I promise the last question out of so many is, how big is your sales team? So take your time. We'll take them one by one and we'll review them so we know who is on the other side of the line. And based on that, we will actually use the rest of the time to make sure that this conversation is useful for all of you. All right, and I'm going to even rank right here all the polls so you can see it. Can you, Alexander, can you see the polls filling up? Just to make sure, can you see me sharing the slide 5? First question, what is your role, or you just see the presentation?
Sure, we can see the slide and people can see the poll and they're voting in.
Perfect.
So, yep.
Great. All right, we'll give you some time.
So we have mostly CEO of companies here, sales/presidents, and also some product and sales people and just tech.
Great, amazing.
Mostly B2B, and 20% is B2C and like 5% of other. By the way, to people who answers other, can you please drop to the chat? Like,
yeah, very curious.
What's the type? And yeah, sales team is mostly from 1 to 10 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see 50% is 0, less than 1, which this presentation is more intended for, starting up. But I can also see here a reflection of some people wanting to share and kind of compare their sales process. So maybe those 1 to 10 want to see how they can, align their sales process better, which is fantastic. Love to see product people. kudos to all the product people here that want to learn about sales. You don't see that every day. So pretty excited to see that you are curious about sales and maybe how we can support your sales team to further improve their processes. So thank you for that. And a few tech. Sasha, do you see why? What is that other? So curious.
Yeah,
Maybe
so there are two answers in the chat. First of all, first one was B2G. And yeah, and one more answer is consultants and VC.
Got it. That's fine. I believe this could be still useful for B2G, obviously slightly different. At least you know your customer persona. That's fantastic. But I believe that the presentation can be so useful to you. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for helping me understand who we have on the other side of the line. And just to summarize, majority, what we have here, CEO or president, who is on the other side, B2B mostly organizations, and about 53% they are building their sales team from what I see here, or they have several sales team members and they want to understand how to compare their process with what we have today. So that's how I'm reading this. Thank you for sharing that with me. Very good. Now let's talk about sales process and hiring. So we're going to take this next couple of minutes to really share, as I mentioned to you, for the last 3 years, there was a lot of sweats that we had to go through to build a team from 0 to 100 employees. What are the high-level do's and don'ts that I want to share with you, and then we'll take them and discuss them in more detail. What are the implications and how, and give you examples. In terms of do's, one thing that I also see a lot from other organizations when I talk to them is you guys are perfectionists. You want to have your perfect product market fit before you go out there. Perfect product. You want to have the perfect product according to you before you go out there and test it. And honestly, one thing that I think we did really well is we had some kind of an idea of what B2B should look like, but we wanted to go out there and test it as soon as possible. That really helped us scale very quickly, because it's not just my perception of what a good product should be like, but it's more about based on the people that I believe this product would be useful for. What do they think that this product should look like, right? Like, what's their feedback? So you actually get feedback from actual people. So my suggestion here would be go out there, start testing your product market fit as soon as possible. How can you do that? 2 ways, right? First, identify at least, I would say 20 people, so you have a good sample size, 20 contacts who you believe might be interested in using your product, test it, and ask them to provide feedback. Look at your friends of friends. Look at your group of people that you have around you. Can they be a good fit for this? Can they provide you objective feedback? If not, LinkedIn is, I think it's going to be the best tool for you guys. I spend I would say 90% of my time on LinkedIn. Reach out to potential LinkedIn contacts that you believe might find your product useful. Ask them to provide feedback. They will give you the most objective feedback out there. And you know what? Most of the time, I know we are scared to reach out to people we don't know, but the majority of time, 9 out of 10 times, I have received yes as an answer. I would love to give you feedback because people love to talk about themselves. So if there's one thing you can do right now, if you're in a very early stage, you're not sure about you want to make the product perfect, don't waste too much time making it super perfect for you. Go out there, test it, get feedback from your clients. It's all about your client. You're going to realize that today. Second, based on the feedback and observation, create really a high-level ideal customer profile and sales process. I'm going to walk you through how we do that today. Don't rely on let's sell to as many people as possible in an ad hoc basis. It never works. Focus is really important. The third point here is start looking at hiring marketing or SDRs, depending on how you sell, more outbound or inbound, after you have a high-level product market fit. So don't wait too long before you start building your sales team. And I see that a lot of founders actually are really hesitant to make that kind of decision. Let me go ahead and find, let's say, the first marketing person. If you have way too many leads, because some actual organizations get organically quite a lot of interest, then the president or the CEO gets super overwhelmed with sales. This is maybe the time when you start thinking about how can we not lose this momentum and hire a salesperson, whether that's VP of sales or a sales manager, depending on your financing situation. So start thinking about this early on, right? Because it can take 6 to 9 months to a year for you to find the right market, the right people for you. And last, but not least, I'm sure you've heard this many times. Please focus. As a founder, as a CEO, in an early startup, you have so many things. You have so much going on in your to-do list. But please focus on what is really urgent and important for you. Focus on making small incremental improvements into the right areas. Don't try to do and be everything for everybody. And I think that sometimes when we run so quickly, so fast, we forget about that. So if there's one thing you'll take out of this, tomorrow morning, look at what are your priorities. Where is the sales, building a sales process in your priority list, and focus on that. On the don't side, it's quite similar, right? Like a lot of time you wait to find the perfect product market fit. I already discussed that. Don't do that. Go out there, test it, talk to people, let them give you feedback. Once they give you feedback, I've seen it a lot of times when, a couple of people give you feedback, I want this feature or that feature, and you start running wild, like building that feature and using quite a lot of development resources. My suggestion is I wouldn't do that. Try to understand if people give you feedback, I wish I had this. Ask them what, let's say some kind of a feature. What would you do with that? How would you use it? How would that be useful in solving your challenge that you have, right? This was actually quite important for us in the beginning because we got so much feedback from the market. Hey, I want this feature and I want that feature. In order for us to really prioritize, we had to challenge the feedback to understand how would they use that, how would that be adding value to them. So don't be afraid to challenge it so you can prioritize better. Again, I already mentioned this, but after this call, once you understand what a good kind of a sales process and skeleton should look like, start thinking about what would that look like for your organization. Don't sell on an ad hoc basis. I've seen that quite a lot. I'm the CEO. I know in my head how to sell, and I will do that for every client. Please don't do that. Write it, put it on paper, make it easy for you to understand and for the prospect to understand. And lastly, as I mentioned, the other kind of big mistake I think we've made, and I've learned the hard way, is we were, I would say, following the wind. So sometimes we said, okay, this is what the sales process should look like. Then we see it doesn't work. We completely change it, scratch it off. Let's start over. And honestly, that set us back. We made one step forward, 2 steps backward. Try to make small changes to the process unless it's really needed. Those small challenges should be a bit by bit, upgrade a bit by bit, make it a bit better, make it a bit better. They should be small but impactful improvements. So don't scratch it off, don't start everything from scratch, but try to really use what you have and make small incremental improvements rather than starting all from scratch. We did that, and it was not the best solution. I'm going to pause here for now. There are a lot of do's and don'ts. Alexandra, do we have any questions that we should address here?
Yes, we have a question about ICP in the chat. So the question is how to define ICP when selling expensive long-term B2B service. Potential ICP doesn't understand why they need our solution.
Well, if the ICP does not understand, right? Like the question is like, how do we create an ICP? I'm actually quite happy you're asking this because it's my next slide. Thank you for that. But you want a bit more specific answer to how do you build an ICP for an expensive solution? Expensive is a relative term. I don't know what you mean by that. When even the prospect or the client, the client that you think you have does not understand it. Am I getting this correctly?
Yeah. And actually, guys, you can just raise your hand and ask your question with a voice, like I'm doing right now. So you can do that. Just raise your hands.
Yeah, please join me.
Yeah, but the answer is yes.
Okay, sounds good. So my first question to you would be, how did you define this ICP? They might not know that they're the right prospect. Do you know if they're the right prospect, the right ICP for you? That's quite important, right? You should know why this ICP is the right one, what challenges, as you can see here, what challenges they have that your problem solves, And it is your job as a solution to sell this solution to them, right? To convince them that this is what, that your problem will solve their challenges. And I think if you cannot clearly define that, maybe you should talk to 5 potential ICPs or 10 and get to understand why they don't find your solution or product so useful. So that would be my suggestion here, right? Follow the word of your potential prospects. To take a step back, what is an ICP? Some of you are familiar with the terms. What is this ideal customer profile, right? We'll take a step back. An ideal customer profile is defined as the type of company that would benefit the most from your product or service. Companies that fit your ICP are most likely to buy and continue to use the product, making them extremely, extremely important for business growth. So keep in mind that ICP is not just a person, right? It's not just a person who is buying this, it's the organization. So in order for you to define your ICP, I have included some high-level questions to answer and more detail that is more on the value proposition, if you want to get into that. But your ICP should, in order to define your ICP, you should answer the following questions. Who might be interested in using your product? Again, think organization rather than individual. What industry? Is it financial services? Is it a tech? Is it a SaaS business? What is it? Which organization, which industry you think would benefit from your product? I don't believe that you can be everything for everyone. It is almost impossible. Think about size. Is it for an SMB business, really, really small, tiny business? Is it for more mid-size? For example, we actually do scale quite quickly, mid-size, in the mid-size space, more into the size technology sector. Think about for yourself, is your business meant for enterprise, for big clients? Is it meant for mid-size? They buy very different. The buying process is extremely different. So you have to define that. What geography? Each geography has its benefits and drawbacks, right? For us, we work in Latin, EMEA, and North America. So think about in EMEA, we have how many different languages? For example, Germany, everything should be in German, right? So you have to customize your process to each different market. But start focused. If there is one country where you believe your product could be used, what is that? Or a couple? Focus on that. And then further down the funnel, we come to the buyer style. Who buys your product? Which department from the organization? Is it HR? Is it marketing? Keep in mind that it's never one buyer. You always have, different people involved in the buying process. But who is that main person who you need to reach out to that can have impact on the decision-making process? And then lastly, users. Buyers and users can be different. Sometimes a head of the department buys it for their employees, but that is as important, right? Who will be the end user of your product or service? So this is actually the first and main question that you should ask in order to create your ICP. Super simple. Sit today. If you don't know, it's all right. Go out there and test it. Look at patterns. Have you closed 5 customers? Do they have anything in common? Right? But don't leave this for tomorrow. Go tonight. Go tomorrow morning. But figure this out as soon as possible. And then I'm going to finish this. And Alexandra, you can give me the questions. Then, if you want to get more detailed into your ICP, you should start thinking about what pains, challenges does your product solution solve? Why did you start this product in the first place? What change or challenge, what kind of pain did you see out there that you wanted to solve for? And this is actually the answer to the person who asked the question. Maybe you don't fully understand the challenges that your buyer has to sell your product to them, regardless of how expensive it is. What are the benefits of your product to the organization? Not in your eyes, in the eyes of the customer. Capture this. Think about your customer. Again, their objectives and their challenges. So it's always about thinking, if I were in the buyer's shoes, if I were in this organization, why would I be using this? What kind of organizational benefit would we have by using your product or service? It's totally fine if you don't know the answer, but you should really start thinking about how can you get this answer from current clients or new ones that you speak with. I'm going to pause here for now. I know that there was a lot of information that we unpeeled here. And Alexandra, can you help me? Any questions that were asked here?
Sure.
Maybe
There is a question about customer development and ICP. So the question is, are there any intersections or differences between customer development and ICP?
I'm not sure I get the question. If there are any the differences between customer development and ICP, if I understand in terms of ideal customer profile, you think more organizational, high level, not just who buys my product, but think about from overall organizational level, what does that look like in terms of industry, size, geography? Then you get down to the actual customer, a person that you actually solve their challenge. I don't know if I understood that correctly, but I think these are two different things, right? ICP is very high level, customer profile, more of a broader picture rather than just the actual buyer of your product.
So no more questions for now. The only one is like, yeah, guys, there will be recordings. So if you have internet or electricity problems, we'll share the recording later. But please stay the session so you're able to ask questions. Yep. Actually, we have one more. How to train my sales team to start doing outbound sales if they are used to sell to hot inbound leads only?
Yeah, very good question. I can't believe people like inbound. It's so boring. Outbound is so much more fun. You get to pick your own customers. You know best who your product is meant for. So you can go out there in the world and say, hey, world, we have the best product for you, instead of some people coming to you and you're just trying to filter them which one is the right one for you. So very different processes, right? Inbound and outbound. Again, outbound is about you going proactively finding business, which is exciting. If you know your ICP, this is where the fun begins in sales, right? Because this is where the biggest dollars are, because you're leaving money on the table. In terms of inbound, you only work with customers that obviously you attract, but also they find you organically. It's very tough to answer your question. It's very tough to train inbound team to be outbound. I've always said that. And one thing that at Preply that I learned the hard way is when I hired my first SDRs, which is sales development reps, those are the outbound people that bring leads to us. I actually trained them. I found I was looking only for outbound at first because they're trained to be hunters. They're trained to go out there and create, kind of capture our value proposition and pitch it to the best possible way. With inbound people, they're more reactive, to be honest with you. They're more used to let me filter in what works best for us. So they're not hunters. They're more, I wouldn't say gatherers, but they're more let me filter in what process. They follow a process, right? They're very much into the process. You can train them on the process of how you can filter in and qualify inbounds. That's great. In terms of selling inbound and outbound, I also believe outbound is more exciting, but definitely very different. And very different way you should treat inbound and outbound sales. Just because once they already have some kind of a need and you need to fully identify it, and once you need to create the need for them, you need to tell them, hey, why did you reach out to me? What do you have to offer to me? So very different way of selling. And if I can tell you how you do that, I think you need to sit with your team and kind of teach them, this is how outbound is done. Happy to sit with you and discuss this in one-to-one. But I personally think that it's difficult if people are very used to getting leads and so easy. I'll give me as many leads as possible and I'll close them. You're not challenging your customers. You're pretty much more on the tactical sales side. So you really need to take a step back and revamp your sales process and offering to be more sales solutions, if that makes sense. But advice here, if you don't have a sales team, start with outbound. Look for people that have experience outbound selling, unless you really want to build inbound organization.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and thank you from the person who asked that question. I'd actually
Very good one.
More.
Sure.
Is there a graphic example of the ICP to share? So maybe I have.
My gosh, you guys are reading my mind. I love this. You haven't checked the presentation in advance. Before I jump to the example, I actually want to say that this is a super high level ICP. Keep in mind that it takes years to perfect your ICP. If I say we started Preply property business 3 years ago, if I say that we have the perfect snapshot of ICP, I would lie to you. It's a constant change based on the feedback you see from the market. So if there's one thing you can take away from here, I'll share with you the example. Is start now, start at a high level. And if you want to know how I can get started, can you help me be more detailed? I have included a link with the 10 steps to creating an ICP. Super cool article from HubSpot. I loved it. I hope it can be useful for you as well on a more kind of a guidance level. But if you want to see an example here, imagine that you actually have an organization that sells management trainings, right? You do sales, not sales, but coaching for managers. You help them be better managers. That's what you sell. How would you define your ICP? So I put here a snapshot, right? What you have understood is that, Germany is where you have seen, based on, let's say, 10 inbounds, you have received 20 inbounds. Let's say 60 to 70% from them come from Germany. You start understanding, okay, let me go and do an ICP for Germany. Who usually companies based in Germany. What about we call them students, but they're more like the employees of the company. Where are they coming from? Western Europe. They're not just in Germany, but Western Europe. Remember the question here, the company geography, but also users kind of geography title. You have to define that as well. Company size. The majority of the companies that have come to us, and we have seen a value in our training, are mid-sized companies from 51 to 200 employees. What industries are they in? We've seen that because information technology and SaaS businesses are developing quickly, their managers, they're promoting employees very quickly. They're becoming managers, but they're not well-trained managers. So we understood that that is kind of where the need is in that industry for management training. Who is the actual buyer, right? The actual buyer usually is the L&D director, HR director, benefits director, or CEO if the company is about 50 employees. This is who the buyer is. What are the reasons for learning? What are the needs here? As I explained in this slide, what are the pains or challenges that our product solves? Well, the companies really need to see, they're seeing a decrease in productivity, because managers are not well trained to be managers. They're seeing employee churn is increasing. Managers' capabilities are not great. So what they have set their KPIs is we need as an organization to increase team productivity by 50%, decrease employee churn by 20%, and increase managers' capabilities. It can be one of this, right? These are different use cases. Just want to underline here. But if you understand that a company is having a churn, usually people leave people, not organizations. This is a sign for me as a CEO of the management training organization that they might need management training for their employees to save them, to decrease churn. So this is kind of the snapshot of the ICP, and then you start building use cases. Okay, I'm going to reach out to all HR directors of 50 to 200 company size, information technology or SaaS businesses headquartered in Germany, and I'm going to help them decrease employee churn by 20%. How I can do that is by training their managers to be able to support employees' needs and internal development, right? And I'm going to be reaching out to all of those L&D and HR people. So this is what actually an example of ICP looks in real life, and in putting it into use cases that then will help you reach out to organizations in a very proactive and driven way of why you're reaching out to them and what pain or challenge you're trying to solve. So hopefully by now you understood one thing. It is not about you and your business. When you reach out, I get so many cold emails. I get so many calls. I'm sure you do as well. And it's all about them. Hi, my name is Elitsa, and I'm calling you because my company has an amazing product. I don't care. I don't care about your company. Tell me what challenge out of 100 I have today to solve, you're solving for me today. How can you help me add value to my objectives that I have set for my team, right? So just start thinking about that. That's where we're going. I'm going to pause here for now.
Yeah, and there is a question.
Bring
How
it.
often do you update your ICP?
We used to update it once every 6 months because we were growing so quickly. Now we actually finally have finalized, we've done extensive research on our ICP, finally finalized the kind of the final version. And I believe this probably would be the case for the next 9 months. So early on, every 6 months, depends how fast you're growing and how much you think your ICP is changing, how much you're learning. So if I say, hey, do it every 6 months, I would like to you, it depends on your growth. For Preply, what we've done, started very high level hypothesis. And now we're doing extensive research with our account management team, with our research team to fully test. And we're finalizing this at the moment, hopefully for the next 9 months. So big work. So it's hard to do it all the time, especially when you get bigger.
Amazing, thank you. And also there is a question, have your sales approach changed based on what your ICP is or only tone of voice?
Fantastic question. Absolutely. That is the whole reason of why we're doing ICP research, right? That's the basic of your sales. That's the skeleton. That's the very first. I love how everybody kind of knows where I'm going. It's exciting. But to answer your question, this is what sales is all about. In one slide, there's a lot to unpack here, but the reason why we do ICP is because we want to tailor our sales approach to our buyers' needs. So if our ICP changes, depending on the use cases, at Preply we have several different use cases, right? Why do we help organizations with language learning needs? What are their challenges that I face, and how can we support them? They have very different challenges depending on the use case. So once you develop your ICP, you can actually develop their pain points, what we've done here, and then based on that, you develop the sales approach. And every time you do this, you have to reconsider, are we still having the right sales approach? Again, don't change everything at once. Remember the very first do's and don'ts. Those incremental changes. We don't change everything from scratch because then that helps us be not so focused. So focus, small incremental changes, make it more specific and more specific until you find that aha moment. Perfect. Moving on. This is the skeleton of a sales process. Again, this is just, I wanted to make it practical for you guys. So I actually wanted to give you an actual example, right, of what a sales process looks like in terms of funnel. The sales process is always a funnel. There are a lot of main metrics and additional metrics that a lot of us use. Depending on your business, if you're a SaaS business, you will use MRR, which is monthly recurring revenue. That's why I'm putting that for here. A lot of businesses that I consult are MRR focused. So if you have that term, it's easy for you to understand it here. But pretty much what this pyramid or funnel tells you is how we sell. It starts all from how do we get leads? How do we get business? How do people hear about us as a business? It can be outbound. That's how Preply started. Love outbound. I think it's so fun. We started outbound with 2 SDRs. The mistake that we made is actually invested in marketing a bit later on. Don't do that. If you find that outbound works really well, it means you have a really low hanging fruit. Marketing, it's a lot easier to scale marketing than outbound. So that's a sign for you to start investing in marketing. But pretty much you have 3 channels, more or less, of where you get leads. Outbound, you have an outbound organization, SDR team. Inbound from marketing, meaning traffic that comes to your landing pages, regardless of how it is. And others, some of you might do events, some of you might do partnerships, third channel partnerships. But this is pretty much how you get leads. And then from there, the fun begins, right? From there, it's all about, okay, what happens once a potential person that we believe fits our ICP wants to talk to us? We qualify them. Do they have a need? Do they have a problem we can solve? If so, we have a demonstration with them. Usually this is all tailored for different organizations. You should have it for yours. But I have included a very, very high level kind of process that I've seen works quite well as a skeleton for many companies. early on, we don't have qualification. Honestly, I talk to anybody that wants to talk to me about language learning. I wanted to understand what made them come to us. What made them respond to my cadence as an outbound SDR. Some of them I had to filter quite a lot. Now we have a very tight qualification process to understand, hey, the person that actually I attracted, do they actually have a need? Do they have a timeline, or just somebody who just gathers information and now it's kind of a bit wasting my time, right? That's further down the road. Many of you already have demos, right? Like you've had a product, you have a demo. Person wants to see your product, you get excited about this. So you're running demonstrations, you get to know about them, about their pain points, show them the product. And then this next step, it's all about how you want to take it, what your product, right? Like what your product dictates. Some of you do pilots. Let's get you to pilot. Some of you do commercial conversation. Let's show you pricing. Usually pricing is very difficult to discuss in the first conversation during the demo because you have so much to unpack there. So it's all about for you to define what that next step is. Once you understand that somebody has a problem you can solve, how do they buy from you? Think about that. How do they buy from you? And if you don't know that now, it's all right, but start thinking about that. Have you closed 5 clients after the demonstration, after you showed them your product and you understood about them? How did you close them? How did you convince them to buy you? Start defining that. I've seen so many founders are like, oh yeah, it's like I do this one for this person and this one for that person. It's just a mess, because if you don't know how you sell, how would any buyer know how to buy you? Just think about that. If you don't know how you sell, it's not clear to you, don't have a clear defined sales process, how would anyone know how they should buy your product or service? So I wanted to focus on this kind of funnel at the moment. And then I have included kind of main, I would say, selling jargon. So if anyone says, hey, how many MQLs do you have? You're not like Googling and thinking like, what the heck is that? It is a marketing qualified lead. Usually it's a responsibility of the marketing team to bring you a contact that are engaged and more or less fits your target persona. SQLs, favorite term, sales qualified leads, someone that actually books a demo, but also has a buying intent. They have to have a buying intent. They have to be looking for something, or they have to have a problem that you can solve. I'm not going to go to each one of this. I think it's not necessary, but hopefully one thing you'll take out of this is more or less, start thinking about what your sales process skeleton should look like for you, and how have you closed deals? What is the process like? Make it so clear. And I'll tell you why in the next slides. All right, break here so I can take a breath. Alexandra, what do we have in terms of questions?
Yeah, so actually at this point, I just want to remind everyone that you can raise your hands. You can find us in reactions sections at the bottom. So you can do like this. I just did with mine, and ask your questions by your own. So I saw Dan asking question. Dania, you can just raise your hands and ask the question. Okay, so we have.
I can do it.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, amazing. Now we have a queue of questions. Amazing.
Amazing.
Please keep your hands up, and yeah, Daniel, go for it.
So I was asking about client problems / needs, how to get to the root, like the very root, like problem of the client, and clear out all the bullshit. That's my question. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you, Dani. Thank you for your question. Just to make sure I understand it, the question is, how do we get to the kind of the pain points of the client?
Yeah.
How do we understand
how to get to the very very clear reason why they're talking to us, avoiding any unnecessary stuff, like how to define those needs and problems.
Yeah, good question. I think why there are two questions here, right? Like, how do we understand why the potential prospect is talking to us and is interested in us, and then how do we understand what their actual needs are? Am I getting this correctly?
Exactly, and how to filter out all the unnecessary stuff.
Yeah.
that they're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no easy answer here, right? It all depends if it's outbound or inbound, right? And usually our SDRs understand the intent at the very first kind of, I would say, contact that we have with our prospect is done on the SDR level. Those are sales development reps, and they talk to our prospects and understand and ask questions, right? Hey, tell me. It seems like you, let's say inbound. It seems like you came to our platform. Tell me more about you. What language learning needs do you have? And so they ask questions to understand, is it a time-bound question? Because sometimes they come and they're like, I'm just browsing. Maybe I will have a language learning need in 3 years. Well, fantastic. The word in 2 years, right? So it's all about asking on an SDR level those questions to understand their needs. And then in terms of the sales process, during our demonstration, we very rarely, we spend 45 out of 45 minutes in demo booked during our demonstration. We talk about Preply about 7 to 10 minutes, because that conversation is all about us asking very straightforward questions to understand more about our prospects' needs, right? Hey, tell me more about your language learning needs. Tell me, it seems like you have an organization, you're growing, you find information, you research about them, you go prepared. So it is, again, there's no golden answer here, but it is about you training your sales team to be solution selling and fully unpeeling with the right questions your customer needs. That's what we do. We don't talk about us in demos. We start with we know this about you based on research. Help me understand the full picture so we can find solution for what you have. That's how we start usually the demonstration. Not, let me tell about us. We're so cool. We're amazing. We're the best thing out there. And they're like, okay, I don't care. That's great. So it's about how you lead your demonstrations with the first conversation, with the real conversation with your clients. Hopefully I was able to answer your question in a very long way.
Okay, well, Dan is muted, but I think you did. Thank you. And yeah, Katerina, you can ask your question now.
Hi, hello everyone. Sorry that I'm without my camera because I have internet problems and as rest of the Ukraine, I guess. So let's get started on my question. First of all, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your expertise. It's a valuable, lesson for all of us. My question is that I want to introduce my product. So I'm promoting a cleaning service. I want it to be as a Uber or Airbnb where you can find, your cleaning person just nearby you. I found it that, for example, when you're using Uber and a lot of people, not Uber, but Airbnb, you don't want to clean, right? But you don't know, you can't find the cleaning lady or cleaning person. So I want to have this kind of business, but I don't understand how can I find those people, you understand? So when we talk about selling, we need to know our clients, and I don't understand whom do I need to contact? I can't contact every cleaning lady. So I need to have another businesses to be involved. So my question is, how do you categorize it to that a point where you understand and define your client or whom you should sell to?
Yeah. So Katerina, just a question on that. You're planning to have a cleaning business? It seems like more a marketplace where people that need cleaning will find people that want to clean, correct? It's more of a marketplace.
Like Uber, you just in a new city and you see Uber's available, the same as cleaning services are available nearby you. Yeah.
And is that more on a B2C level where people, or you plan to sell this to organizations where, or it's more on an individual basis?
Individual basis, yeah. So this is my struggle. You see, it's not the corporation or businesses. As you say, APC should be directed to organization, but I think my business will be directed to individual people. So that's my struggle.
Yeah, makes sense. And Katerina, with all transparency, right, this is more a B2B focused conversation where we actually talk about B2B sales. How can that's why when you say, identify your ICP, it's more about on an organizational level. That being said, right, I cannot claim to be an expert in marketing and, SEO, but you started this because you saw that somebody might need this. For those people that you started, hey, I want to start a cleaning business. How for you it will be, as probably in the beginning, you have IT marketplaces are extremely difficult because you might fail because you have a supply or demand problem, right? You might not have enough cleaners, or you might not have enough people that want cleaning. So unfortunately, if I say that I can answer your question, I would like to. I don't have expertise in B2C marketing at all. That's not what I do. But I can tell you probably early on what we started and what made us so good is actually we invest a lot in SEO articles and so on to be the top search for keywords that they use for language training. Maybe something like that could be useful to you. But sorry, I can't help here because honestly, I don't have that expertise. I'm more B2B, think about B2B high level strategy, B2B sales rather than individual B2C marketing, SEO stuff.
Thank you, but still, I think so. Right now, maybe I need just to find a person who's expertise in B2C and to be more precise. But thank you, for redirecting me. Thank you, guys.
No problem. Best of luck.
Yeah. So my question: how this funnel, which is on the screen, changing this depending on the product and depending on the situation on the side of the customer, because we have different companies, so they have different scale, different industries, decision-making systems. So how to adapt? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think a good question here. It can change in a couple of different ways, right? I think the very first one is you have to think about what would be your very top of the funnel strategy. Do you want to invest in going out there and finding your clients, or do you have enough inbound leads? Some organizations I actually advise, they have so much inbound, they can't even handle enough inbound, right? So if you have enough inbound at the moment, you actually want to really perfect your inbound and create a very neat inbound organization before you start investing in outbound. So this actually, the top of the funnel will change. Some companies actually do really well with events and partnerships. So that part of the funnel, you don't need to worry about, the channels, the other two channels. And then from there on, Denise, you're very right. More tech savvy products like that are super, that take a long time, right? Like there's a lot of SaaS products out there that take 2 years to sell, right? Their actually sales process would look very different. The qualification should be the same, right? I mean, do the company have a need, right? Do they have a challenge that you can solve, and that should be decided on a very high level. And then from there, if they do, how they buy, it all depends on what you set up. I know some companies, because they sell subscription, very, very expensive 12-month prepaid models, they actually start with a small trial. Hey, we'll give you 14 days free pilot, but you have to take control of the conversation, right? You can't just say, here's a free pilot, best of luck. Hopefully one day you convert, right? You have to build all the next steps with them, because they know how to buy you. Before you start a pilot, they know how they buy you, right? They know, their expectations, they know how you buy and how they buy you. So if I say that there is a uniform funnel, I would like to you, but you have to understand, does a pilot make sense? Does something like maybe onboarding for the team make sense, depending on how they make decisions, right? After you have the demonstration, this conversation dictates what happens here. After you have a conversation, hey, how do you buy something like this at your organization? Just pure, simple question like that. Well, I need the team to see. Well, let's do a team demo, or let's do a team pilot, whatever that is, dictates the rest of the funnel. How do you make decisions? Who else is involved? Then you decide if they finance to be involved, then you might have a step with finance discussion, right? But it's very important for you to have this kind of conversation during the demo, so you know how they buy and you know how you sell, so you come up and you have a very clear expectations from both sides. No guessing. I told my team, you have hypotheses, but go out there and prove them, right? Because we don't want to guess.
Okay, thank you. And there are 2 more questions from the chat. So the first one is about CRM or CRM alternatives. So what CRM or CRM alternatives like Google Sheet, Trello, to use at the very beginning, first 30 sales? And what are the minimum sales process tools which are useful, helpful, but not redundant at such an early stage?
Yeah, fantastic question. As I explained in the beginning of the presentation, I have a slide with my sales tech stack. So you will see exactly what tools I used. Honestly, I tried every single tool out there in the market. Took me a lot of time. And I want to share what worked well for me in what stage of development. But give me 2 slides, if you don't mind, to wrap this the sales process, and then we'll end this second section, if that's all right, with the sales tax tools. I have included them in here in one slide.
Yeah. And while we are still here, another question was, I think it was as an addition to the question of about problems and interviews. So the question was, but how to motivate them spending time telling about themselves when we are an early stage startup and not an established brand yet?
So just to make sure I understand and answer the right question. So can you repeat one more time? They want to understand how, in a very early stage, to understand the pain points of the prospect.
How to motivate people spending time telling about themselves when it's early stage startup and not an established brand yet.
Yeah. So again, I think it's even less important for you to tell about yourself when you're unestablished brand, because no one cares about you. I know it's heartbreaking to hear it, right? Like in retrospect, we all care about you. But like, if you're like, whether you come to me and say, hey, I'm let's say monologue that I do this, who cares? I've never heard about you. I don't want to hear about you. Why are you telling me who you are? Right? Tell me about what problem you're going to solve. So I think this change of mindset is what I want you guys to think about today. No one cares what you are and what you do. They care, what can you do for me? Right? So that's why understanding your ICP, understanding their pain points. Hey, Elitsa, I know that you are actually working at you're managing a global sales team and have 3x your goals for the last couple of quarters. You probably have the craziest goal right now when you're thinking about how can I help my team close better. We actually have worked with organizations like yours and help them quadruple their sales goal by providing insights into how their sales team can improve their conversion by 20%. How about having a conversation 3 p.m. tomorrow? Now you're talking to my heart. I actually do have a crazy sales goal, and I do have a sales team that need to hit quarter. Help me understand how, we have helped these organizations. We have helped people like you do this by X, Y, and Z. Let's talk, right? So now the conversation is different. You don't tell me, hi, Elitsa, my name is Alexandra, and I want to tell you all about Preply. We're the coolest organization out there. Well, great. I don't care about you because I get 10,000 emails like that. But hey, Elitsa, I'm Sasha, and I'm from Preply, and I know that 70% of your employees actually internal communication is not working well because your let's say Latin team is not speaking the language, the common language. Because of that, you actually have a lot of delays and whatever else in your projects. How about having a conversation to discuss how we can help your team build the confidence in speaking the same language and having the better communication. Right now, we were talking about the pains that I have in my heart right now, or in my objectives. So hopefully that was able to answer it. But again, so you have to change your mindset. You have to think about who your prospect is, what objectives they have, what challenges they face. Based on you have so much information out there. Use LinkedIn, Google them, check their news. You can find so much about them. You can make hypotheses for sure. So invest time in to target the right people. If you the straightforward answer.
Amazing,
Cool.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead. I think I've covered all of this, but just for your own reference, guys, here's how to develop a sales process. Actually, to Dennis' point, hey, how do we tailor all of this for my team, right? I put a kind of a step-by-step how you should think about your sales process. You can read what a sales process is here if you're not familiar with it. But you have to think about 3 things. How do your customers find about you? Is so you can decide on top of the funnel, as I mentioned, how to conduct the first conversation with a prospect, what happens after you show them your product or service, right? After you understand, I understand your pain. I understand that we can help you, right? During the demonstration, here is a slight flavor of how we can help you. Then you start talking about what the next steps look like for you to sell your product. This is just a very high level kind of suggestion. Do you have a commercial conversation during the demo? Not sure. I never advise my team to. I think it's packed agenda. You get to know them in full detail. Talk about pricing is too early. Or solution. You have to understand what they really need and advise. So maybe a pricing conversation makes sense. Maybe a trial or a pilot. Then you have negotiations. Then you have legal and procurement discussions. Then you have contract and invoice. But you don't want to guess. You want to ask them, how do you buy something like this? So you know what the next step looks like for them, and you are very clear on how you sell your product. And I also have included a video on the basics of the sales process. Under the video, you can actually check a bunch of resources to help you out with these guys. And of course, thank you, Alexandra, for advising me. Put a quick kind of example here on how do you build a sales process. Here is an example. Again, think about your sales stages. After you have, let's say, qualification call, quickly chat with your prospect to understand, hey, why they like, let's find more about them. So you can prepare for that demonstration. So you can prepare to be more tailored towards them. What happens afterwards? These are just pure suggestions, and you can see how each stage you have to understand what is the purpose, and when do I move a prospect to this stage, right? When, after, what do I need to have as a trigger to see in the previous stage to say, okay, once I complete the demo, I'm ready to move the prospect to next stage. What would that trigger look like for your organization? I have included examples. I'm going to go through them. It's going to take another hour, but please check them in your free time, use them as a reference. Now we more or less have covered how to create an ICP, what the skeleton of your sales process should look like, and more or less thinking about the sales stages for your own organization with a few examples. If we don't have any questions, happy to focus on when and how to hire the right team, something super hot topic for a lot of people that I speak with, a lot of CEOs and presidents, but definitely want to pause here for now because we have unpacked a lot. Any questions, Alexandra, that we can address right now?
There is actually, there is a question, but maybe you will answer this during this slide. So the question is, at which scale the formal process should take place?
At which stage of formal process? Well, it depends what you mean by formal sales process, right? As I mentioned in the beginning, if you have 10 sales and you already start seeing patterns, I would start very high level at Preply Enterprise when Preply Business. When I started Preply Business, I actually started like writing in Google Sheets. I almost got lost in Google Sheets, by the way. How did I sell the last 10 sales? Like, what was the process like? Start putting it into black and white. And also, like, I actually didn't have a CRM to answer your questions. I'll show you what CRM I use later, but I built a CRM purely on an Excel sheet and tested it many times to find the right stages, right? How do people buy something like this? Do they need pilots? Do they want the team to see it? Can they make a decision to the people I'm speaking with, or there's somebody else out there? So you have to like look at how you've sold before, what patterns you see. I would not wait. Again, don't wait until you have many customers. It's a jungle in your list, right? Start early on.
Yeah, there is a question from the same person, like 2, 3, or 5 sales. But guys, by the way, I just want to remind you that you can raise your hands and ask the question personally. So I think we can go ahead if there are no more questions at this moment.
Sure.
There is.
Let's go.
What candidates you help recommend to hire as first sales managers or SDRs for startups as their crucial hires? And what core hard and soft skills you are looking for?
Perfect. Thank you. Next slide is exactly what I have, right? When and how to hire and kind of hiring best practices. Very good question there, right? When you think about your CEO, you're spending the majority of your time selling, right? And if you're not, then think about what are you doing in your time if you're not creating revenue for your company, right? You're spending 80% of your time selling, nurturing prospects, trying to close them, capturing all of this high-level sales process. Secondly, you have enough proof of a preliminary product market fit. Hey, I've closed 10 sales and I have good feedback from them. It seems like I'm into something, right? You feel like you have way too much on your pipeline on your plate. Start looking early. Again, the process of hiring your first team members can take from 6 months to a year. And to answer your question on who you should hire in terms of first sales team members, I've seen it all different ways, right? And it all depends on two things. First is the amount of leads you get. Some companies that I work with, they get actually naturally inbounds very quickly because their product is in hot demand. So what that means is if you already have a lot of leads, you don't need per se SDRs. You can start working with sales managers, right? So you need people who close. If you don't have any pipeline, you have two options. Either you say, I'm going to close because I don't have enough understanding of the product market fit. So I'm going to hire 2 SDRs to just purely bring me leads and I close. So you hire 2 SDRs, or you say, you know what, I'm too busy. I'm going to hire 2 sales managers because I already have a product market fit and they're 2 junior managers. So they can do a bit of prospecting and closing and do that on their own. So it very much depends on your development, right? For example, with Preply, I was selling exclusively building raw materials and sales presentations until we had about 20 plus customers, 20, 30 customers. It was impossible for me to take to do this on my own. I hired 2 sales managers on the junior side, so they were doing prospecting and selling at the same time. But because I already had a good product market fit, and we just needed to start generating leads. If you heard me, I always hire 2 people at a time, especially as we start for the first time. Why? Because if you hire 1 sales manager, now you're testing 2 things. You're testing how scalable is your solution, and you're testing the new person's skills. If you have money and if you have enough funds, hire 2 sales managers at the same time. Salespeople are very competitive, so they will compete between each other and they'll be better and better. First of all, and second of all, best case scenario, they both work out. You make good money and it's fantastic. Worst case scenario, one doesn't work out, but you get really good insights. You still see that this solution is scalable with one. So always think about hiring 2 people at the same time. Is advice I've received and I truly followed, and it was quite useful. I see Zena is raising hand, or oh no, just giving me applause. Great, perfect. Love it. But just remember that, right? Some companies that I have advised, they actually have seen tremendous, like they've very quickly have seen a good product market fit, and they have fundraised quite a good sum of money. Think about financial services. So they were able to, they said, Elitsa, I'm a CEO. I don't want to hire SDRs and close. I've already closed enough deals. I know that we have product market fit. I'm looking for a VP of sales to fully scale my sales organization. So if you're in that stage of development, fantastic. Think about VP of sales, completely outsource this, and actually you as a CEO focus on running the organization and scaling. If you're not there yet, and you really need, you have not proved your product market fit, hire SDR so you get enough leads, you see enough, you get enough feedback, and then you're ready to hire sales. If you have enough product market fit, hire sales managers. So these are kind of the 3 options you have in terms of hiring. Hiring best practices. I would say the one thing I'm really proud of about when I think about Preply business and why we scaled is actually my first hires were really good hires. They actually were kind of, when you think about a house and put the base, they were actually the main pillars of Preply business. They were hungry. Why so? They were super hungry. They were super passionate about the product. And they were not, even though they had a bit of a sales experience, they were ready to get, to put their sleeves up and get ready to prospect, to cold call, to make this work. And so my suggestion here is, if you start not with VP of sales, but with anything else, hire people that are passionate about your product. Don't look for experience, somebody who's worked for Salesforce or all of these cool organizations. Honestly, they never worked out for me later on. Take a look at who you can see yourself working with, who is passionate about your product, who is ready to go to take the extra mile and help scale. And that's really, really important. I've made a lot of mistakes actually hiring, because we had to scale very quickly. So I had to hire 10 AEs, 10 account executive sales managers at the same time. Made a lot of mistakes, but follow your feelings. If you feel like somebody's really you're not sure, well, don't hire them. You're going to open yourself a Pandora box. One last thing I will put it here is outsourcing SDRs. A lot of my companies that I work with, they believe in this miracle of like, hey, I don't want to build an outbound organization. It's too much work. I'm just going to outsource this and I'm going to get the best leads out there. I'm just going to close them. I'm not going to give any advice here, but I'm going to say one thing. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. So if you want to go that route, make sure you have very clear goals of set goals with this outbound SDR firm and test them very quickly to understand if this is going to work out or not. It's good for testing purposes. You can never scale this way, just so you know. And the last thing, this is super obvious, set clear goals. You hire these teams, they're super excited, focus them, create goals, whatever that is, don't forget that. Focus them on goals and make sure that you will go through those goals every single week. That's pretty much in terms of hiring. I'm going to go quickly because I know that we've spent quite a lot of time here. Finally, I'm going to get to answer your questions on the sales process tech stack after 10 minutes. This is kind of these are my tools that I've used and I advise other companies to use in terms of scaling your sales team. In terms of lead generation, think about outbound prospecting. LinkedIn Sales Navigator, regardless, will be your best friend. Like, you need Sales Navigator, invest in it early. It's a fantastic tool. Please Google a lot, like how to use it, because some companies honestly are almost their sales proposition is purely based on Sales Navigator, and they scrape such cool data. Like if you're, let's say, executive hiring search firm, you can actually find super cool data on LinkedIn, scrape it and find who you should target, right? Who your ICP should be based on that. So use Sales Navigator to its best advantage. In terms of how to find contact information, think about emails and phone numbers. Lucia, I use Lucia. Apollo, I didn't put it here. Apollo didn't work well for us, but it's still a cool tool. Lucia is super focused, so I can get really cool. It's a plugin that goes over LinkedIn, so I can find your prospects' emails and phone numbers. I love Scrap. I think that's like the hidden gem there. Why? Because you can export LinkedIn data in bulk, and they also do contact information. So they can match sometimes contact details. So this is like, usually with LinkedIn, you can only export 20 contacts, which is sometimes not enough if you want to get feedback very quickly. With Scrap, you can export up to 200 and find contact information. So look for it. I will put the links here before I pass this information to you, so I didn't have time. So you can have links to each different tool, and you can go and explore it on your own. Zoom Info, super helpful if you work in the US. If it don't work well in the US, doesn't work really well in Europe. It's very expensive, so think before investing in it. In terms of CRM, depending on how big you are, we started with Outreach, which is a cheaper tool used for like smaller SDR teams. That's where we actually build our cadences. So if you want to reach out to your ICPs, you can do that in a super scalable way with Outreach. Love the tool. This is for smaller teams, not for bigger teams. And then Outplay is for bigger teams. But I will leave the links here. Depending on how big your team is, you can decide what you want to invest on. Salesforce, we use Salesforce right now. Don't start with Salesforce, please. It's not the right decision. Love Pipedrive. Pipedrive is fantastic. Please start with Pipedrive. It gives you super cool data. I love the reporting and how easy it is. So if you don't have a CRM system and you have 10 sales, start with Pipedrive immediately. Put all the data there because it will help you scale the process. So that's my kind of tech tools that we use for the sales process. I will include the link, so you can just go here and click and see all about it. If you want to have a discussion, happy to discuss it with you on how to implement this in your organization. All right, before we move on to the last point, which is more on the sales approach, a lot of you had questions on that, right? Hey, how do I uncover these pain points? Well, if it was too easy to do, everybody would be doing it, right? It's a process. So I want to share very high level what are some kind of tactics or approaches that you can use, implement your organization today to help you maybe improve a bit and see good output from this. But Alexandra, should we pause here and see if people have any questions?
Yeah. Ivan asked you to share your thoughts on HubSpot.
Good tool. I like HubSpot. I actually have to say that HubSpot, we didn't use HubSpot for the only reason that, again, we were an outbound organization. We did not have marketing leads and all of that. If you are inbound organization, HubSpot is your jam. It has a fantastic way of setting up your marketing qualified leads, aka MQLs. So if you're an inbound organization, I would include HubSpot. Very good question here. Use HubSpot. I don't have experience with HubSpot because you're fully outbound. We just implemented the HubSpot version for inbound marketing, and it's working really well for us. But depending on how you get leads, you can decide which tool to use.
And another question about the tool called One Page CRM, if I got it correctly. So yeah, another question about this tool, if you're familiar.
Unfortunately, I'm not, so I can provide feedback. We'll look into it. Sounds interesting. But thank you for passing it. I'm not familiar with it.
Okay.
There are a lot of tools, guys. There are a lot of tools. You can spend all of your life just discovering sales tools, I can tell you. And they're all, I call them one-trick ponies. They only do one thing, right? So in order for you to like go to LinkedIn, find contacts and export them and find information, you need 7 tools sometimes, and it's like so annoying. But don't get too caught up in tools. Find like I've explored, honestly, I had 17 tools at some point that I could put on this board, but I decided to pick just the top ones that we have right now that are working really well for us. Cool. Sales approach, the do's and the don'ts. I think I've already mentioned this to you, so hopefully this will serve as a summary. One thing you learn is that your sales process is as important as your product. How you sell matters a lot. And what I said is not what you sell, it's how you sell it, right? Again, people buy from people, so make it so easy for them to buy your product. I cannot tell you that one of the reasons, by the way, why we didn't buy HubSpot in the beginning, we explored Salesforce and HubSpot. Gosh, those people were so difficult to deal with on the sales side. There was no clarity. How do we buy this? Hey, I had a conversation with you. Tell me, how do we buy this? They rescheduled our meetings. They were so unclear. I talked to several engineers that were not familiar with what we needed to do. It was a mess. They might have the best product, but they couldn't pass that message to me. So how you sell is as important as what you sell, if not more important. So that's why we discuss so much about your sales process. It has to be neat. It has to be transparent. It has to be clear to the customer, to the buyer. How do I buy you? Walk me through this. It was so unclear with HubSpot. We were lost. So keep that in mind, right? People will forget what you say, but will never forget how you made them feel. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So focus on who you sell to, and make them feel like they know how to buy you. I'm not gonna cover the second point. I think you got this, but I'll give you one challenge today. Take it or leave it. But I'll give you the challenge. If you send sales emails, if you communicate with your potential prospects, with current clients, I challenge you next time you write an email that is client focused. Stop saying, I am, you, us, me, us, but paraphrase it and start with like you. It's all about you. I'm reaching out, like it's you that I care about. It's you that I'm, that we're here for, and this is, I know about you, and I know that you care about X, Y, and Z. So it's all about them, not about you. So it's really hard. I failed many times to do this. Try it as a challenge, but always think about your customer is in the heart of what you do. And lastly, to many of your questions, be genuinely curious about your buyers' objectives, challenges to achieve them, and listen, right? How can you add value to their business and to them personally? That first conversation. We get so excited because what we do is so cool, it's so amazing. You're like, if you only knew, you'd buy me right now. And you think that you sell by talking more and telling them all about you. But actually, if you take a step back and ask questions and get to know about them, and then say, oh, here you go. This is the challenge that you have, right? Your team cannot speak the same language. You have people from US, from Latin America, and projects are getting sold because they cannot talk to each other. How do you solve that? You have money, like you want to expand, but your team speaks no English. Well, how are you going to expand, right? So these are kind of the things that you really need to understand about your buyers. And the one thing that I tell my team is, don't be an order taker, rather be a consultant, right? Be there, like, say, how can I help you? Knowing what you do right now and knowing what you have on your plate. What are your objectives for the quarter? What resources do you have to solve them, right? How can I help you solve them in the best possible way? So just think about that, right? Think about you're the subject matter expert. I know so much about your business because I've sold to so many of you 1,000 times. Let me help you as well. And I did include here a very high level challenger approach, right? I'm not going to cover to it, but keep in mind that the best salespeople don't just build relationships with customers, they challenge them, right? Challenge the status quo. A lot of people, you sell an HR CRM system. I'm so used to mine. It doesn't work at all, but I don't care because I just don't want to deal with it with buying a new one. And if there's one thing that you can take in terms of the sales approach is think about how can I make them think that the pain of the same is greater than the pain of change. People hate change. How can I tell them that what you currently do will ruin your business, will not make you competitive? So you have to make a step forward. I included also a summary of the challenger sales method. If you want to take a stab on it and you want to try it on the next sales call, you probably will not feel comfortable, but try it at least 10 times. And by the 10th time, you'll be an expert and probably will close business a lot more. So highly advise you to look at it. And guys, this is it. We are at our very much of a summary. I just have to say that the fact that you're here, you're doing an amazing job. You're curious about how to make it work. You want to compare your sales process with what's the best out there. So for me, you're already winners. You're already amazing. You're inspiring. You're here at 8:30 your time to listen to me blabbing about how you can make your sales process better. You're already amazing. And thank you for that. I will not read this to you. I'll let you take a second to read it yourself and think about what you came here for, right? You want to compare your current process. You're curious about sales. Did we reach that curiosity objective of yours? Do you feel like you know a bit more about sales and how to build sales approach and sales organizations a bit more than before you came? And keep up the good work. There is no like, oh my gosh, today I did this and aha, $1 million deal came in. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. It's a lot of working hard, making incremental changes, and being excited about what you do and being excited about helping others solve their own problems that will get you to where you want to get.
And while everyone is taking notes, yeah, we have more questions coming to the chat. So one more time, guys, you can just raise your hand and then unmute yourself and ask the question. But if you can't do that, drop the question to the chat and I'll read it. So another question from Dan, he is asking if you can share an example of challenger pitch, please.
Absolutely. You can actually see it right here, right? I have included it in here. But what it is you never, and I already kind of shared it. When you think about building your sales presentations, right? Like, let's say, customer facing materials, it should always be about, you start with the challenge that they have. Hey, do you know that 90% of the global organizations at the moment that want to go global and are global have actually only 50% of their employees that speak a second language? How can you be global without actually your team being able to prepare to get you to the next country, right? Like, challenge them. Hey, this is the challenge that we face in your industry, whatever that is, right? Like, you have to do a bit of research in terms of what you do. What is the challenge that you're set with your product to solve? Make them kind of feel a bit the pressure that they have to take some kind of a step to fix that, right? Hey, if you don't fix it, there's never, how can you get, how can you be global when your team is not global, when they're not equipped to speak your client's language, right? And if you don't get this right, right, like, you ultimately will not have sales revenue in the countries you want to set yourself presence, because your team does not speak ultimately that language. So how we can help you, right, is, again, like, we'll build individual programs for your team to help them make as quick improvements as possible, and build the confidence in them speaking the language. It's not actually the fact your team already speaks somewhat language. It's about their confidence, building their confidence to be able to close the sale in English. So now you always start with the challenge. It's not about, hey, hi, Sasha, do you know that Preply is so cool? We have so many cool languages that your team can take, right? All right, so what? Right? We know that you have a global problem, right, that you want to solve. You want to expand internationally. How are you going to do that? Do you have the team today to support you with that expansion? Do you have the language capacity that your team speaks to help you speak the client language? How are you going to fix that gap? Right? Just asking the questions, be curious. So this is a challenger approach, right? Lead with an insight. Do you know, right, that 40% of your organizations that want to go global don't have the sales force to do that? Yes, Anastasia. I see somebody's raising their hand. So exciting.
Yep. Hi. Thank you so much. It was super interesting. I had a real question about real situation and pain in our company. So we are a SaaS platform for the airports. So our clients are like big enterprises and etc. And we had a situation that we had a pilot with one of the airport, and due to the changes in the C-level management, they paused our cooperation. And for the last 3 months, we are constantly reminding them about ourselves, but nothing changed. So their answers like, wait, we will reach you out. Maybe you have some secret sauce, or like maybe you have some suggestion about the approach, how we can reach them right now to restart our cooperation.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to make it a task. We're going to make it fun here. So you guys now are so good at solving customer problems after this. So the challenge that Anastasia is facing, they had a huge prospect company that they potentially they were working with, or they were so close to working with, where because of change of management, right, they decided to, hey, right now we need to pause this. Let us reach out to you whenever we're ready, right? They pretty much closed the door and said, wait outside if you want to. We'll open the door whenever we want to. How would you? What would you do? Anybody? Come on, I cannot be the only one talking here. We have 32 people that are still here. Any suggestions from what you've read before, or maybe you've had a similar situation that worked really well for you? Anyone?
I can add that we, for example, we tried to contact different people, not like the only point of contact that we had there. So we contacted like the commercial people, we contacted the guy who was responsible with cooperation with us on the like operational level. It doesn't work.
It was say, like, were they a client of yours? Just a clarification here.
Airport.
Yeah, and you were trying to get them to be your client, or were you working with them?
So we had already working with them on a pilot, and we were talking exactly with the CEO of the company. He was present at our like demonstrations. He was present at some of our meetings, and as I understood, they're changing exactly him right now. So
yeah. And did you have a pilot running? They tested your product, or it was okay? And what was the feedback?
It was great. That's the question. Like they were super happy. They even suggest some features that they wanted to have. So we added it, and we are now like, we had a lot of benefits mutually from this cooperation. So when we started talking about the commercial proposal, they told us that they changed in management. I hope.
Yeah, and usually the CEO would buy something like this, and you had the CEO there, but
yeah,
the CEO might have changed.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. Wow. Anybody? Super interesting problem, huh? Anybody has any suggestions here? There's no wrong answer, you know that, right? Like we're just hypothesizing. So
the only suggestion that I see in the chat is from Juan, and he says like maybe they just don't need this. So, but yeah, Nasty just mentioned that they had demo and it was nice. So yeah, Dan raised his hand. You can actually talk.
yes, Dan.
While starting this pilot period with them, was there any definitive pilot objective or something that they can evaluate after the end of the pilot? Maybe it's just what was not clear for them enough. Like, what did you bring to them after the pilot? Maybe they're just like didn't pay as much attention to it. And if so, like my take on this would be try to write a like a breakup email. Really ask them what exactly didn't work for them. Was it pricing? Was it the product? Was it like the timing? And propose to leave the conversation and just acknowledge that your last email and blah blah blah, and just make them kind of guilty about not responding to you. Maybe that will work.
Love the idea. Thank you for that. Really, I love what you said. Like, hey, what were they? Why did they start the pilot? What was their success criteria? Did we hit that right? It's great. Anastasia, imagine you're the new CEO of that company, right? Like there was a change. Your hypothesis is that there is a change of CEO. I think you can very quickly check the news and find if that's really the case. I think always Googling and learning a lot about what's happening within the organization. Or if you have a champion from the pilot that at least can share, hey, we are going through a massive organizational change, right? You can confirm that is important first. Second, imagine you're that new CEO. Anastasia is the new CEO. Where within the priority box would you put, imagine the new CEO is called Anastasia.
Oh yeah.
How exciting, you got promoted. Where within your objectives, right, and priorities would be that CEO coming back to you and launching whatever you sell to them? Where would you place it? Imagine you're that CEO.
Yeah, so I remember like the previous CEO, he was really excited about the analytical data that our like solution had as a result of the calculations of the resources. So he was super happy exactly about that. It was some benefits for the like operational personnel, but feedback from the CEO was like he needed this data because before that they didn't have any kind of real numbers to make some decisions. Yeah, so yeah, we tried to reach also from this point. Now my object is we have a launch of new like feature next month, so probably maybe I will leave them alone for this month and come back in December to remind and like, look, we have this new stuff, it will be super helpful in this and etc. Yeah,
so good idea, right? I think it's just a lot of noise. Like if they don't care, like right, what you said is amazing, right? That hey, previous year didn't have data to make decisions, right? Your tool will enable them to have more data-driven decisions. I'm a new CEO. I'm expected to make change happen. They probably will have some kind of change management. So if I were you, if I were a CEO, the first thing I would look at is what do we have currently, right? Like what are our main challenges in an organization? Assess, right? Like what do we have currently as issues and what do I need to solve today versus tomorrow? So I think that this probably will be a long shot because when you have a CEO change, to be honest with you, even if you have the most crucial product, they will wait because they will assess currently the organizational kind of capabilities, and then they will decide what is on top of priority for them. So to be honest with you, this is a long shot and long-term shot. I don't think that he would necessarily care about new features, but what he would care is exactly that. Hey, you're the new CEO. I'm sure that you have 1,000 things running in your head right now. One thing that we've discussed with your team that I found extremely useful is they didn't have data to make decisions. You as a new CEO, how would you make decisions if you don't have data? I'm sure that you're inheriting a lot of data mess, let's say it in a nice way. You've ran a pilot. These are the people that loved what we did. With your permission, can we continue working with them to maybe show value, right? Maybe you can extend a bit the pilot to like show him the value as well. But I would hone on that, right? I would think if I were the CEO, I would even write down of that company, what would be on top of mind for me right now? Why would I care about data, right? And synthesizing the data and how would that help me make decisions, data-driven decisions. We usually love pilots, like with Preply we do pilots, and because you have champions, people love your product. So you can A, use them for information gathering, or B, use them, say, I just contacted your CEO. This is the message I sent. Can you help me? Can we continue the good work we do? We'll send the pilot or whatever, but can you help me out? Ask for help. It's all right if you have already developed that personal relationship.
Okay.
But these are kind of the two things I would do. I would take a step back and kind of give a very, I love bullet points, guys. Make it so easy for him. Hey, this is what we did. I understand what you're going through. We can help you out. Make decisions with data. How do you make decisions without data? What are you going to do? Gut check? No, we don't want that.
Okay.
We don't want that. So just try to challenge him a bit. This is the challenger approach, right? And share kind of like with 3 bullet points. What was a pilot? Why was it successful? This is the person who we've worked with. You can go ask him, with your permission, can we continue working with that person? All we need from you is just to sign this contract, right? Say that after on the second email, so you don't sound too salesy. I'm joking.
Yeah.
But
thank you. Yeah. We will try everything. Thank you, Elitsa, so much.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully it works. We'll have a follow-up session from Anastasia to tell us what worked. Maybe when she closes the sale, she'll do the follow-up sales session here.
Cool, thank you. So are there any more questions? If there are any, drop them to the chat, or actually it's been almost 2 hours. And yeah, we can take, I guess, like up to 3 more questions. If there are any, and if there are no, you can drop them later to Slack channel. And yeah, Elitsa, so many people asked us to share the presentation. So if you can send this to me and I'll drop it to our Slack channel, and the recording also will be available, I guess, in a few days. So yeah, you'll be able to rewatch, pause, think about it, make notes again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shim. Thank you very much for everyone who stayed almost 9 o'clock your time to talk about sales. Again, excited to share my experience with you. I have my contact information. Connect with me. I'd love to know more about you. Thank you again. And I really hope there's one thing you can take out of this. Start making changes now, and start thinking about how you centralize your whole sales approach around your prospect, not about you. So if there's one thing you can take away out of this prolonged 2-hour session, let that be it.
Yeah, thanks so much to everyone. And also Zana just dropped a link to the survey. So it's a survey we do to like make this project as much helpful for you as we can. So please go through it, answer the questions. There are a few. And if you want to leave us a testimonial, you can do it at the end of survey. So please do that. We'd be super grateful for that. And yeah, the link is also in our Slack channel, and I'll drop it to the Slack as well. So thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you, Elitsa. Thank you.
And
thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next time I'm in Kiev, I'll call you guys. I want to see you all. We can talk about sales over coffee, okay?
Thank you.
You'll tell me about your $1 million business you built.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.